But a lot of it was more of me just kind of looking like, okay, so what's this letter? And then when they'd reveal it, it's kind of a, that doesn't make any sense. Hello, welcome to Blockbuster Review. If you don't know what that is, it is where I play a single game of Tetris Marathon and review a film until the blocks reach the top or until 150 lines. The spoilers are at line 50, and we go on 3. Actually, 1. So the ABCs of Death is an anthology series that I thought was horror, but then when I looked up some details about it, it's actually a horror-comedy anthology, and that's interesting because I didn't find a lot of it horrific or funny. Some of it was, and the concept was simply let 26 directors have a chance to make a short film based on the letter of the alphabet. Now, what you end up doing, at least what me and my roommates ended up doing, was guessing what the hell the letter is for everyone that we're watching. I had thought I had heard about this film that after the directors had received their letters, they then shook them up a little bit and kind of changed the titles to make a more a movie that flowed a little bit better. And it's, you know, I think it's obvious. The issue with an anthology movie like this, especially with so many different directors, 26 of them from different countries and from different kind of schools of horror and just movie making, the tones shift dramatically while watching this thing. And I kind of opened with a little jab saying that it wasn't funny or horror or horrific. There were 2 that I could count that really actually disturbed me. And if you watch the ABCs of Death, I think you'll know which 2 I'm talking about. And then the rest, well, there was maybe 2 that I actually found funny. And then the rest were they just kind of felt like filler. And sometimes annoying filler. There were some that were clever. A few, maybe 5 or less, that I was like, oh, that's a clever use of the letter you received. But a lot of it was more of me just kind of looking like, okay, so what's this letter? And then when they reveal it, it's kind of a, that doesn't make any sense. I don't agree with the decision to use that for that letter. And then with the understanding that maybe they shifted them around, it adds up. Because you make a movie like this, you don't want to come out guns blazing with the most insane one. You want to kind of pepper in some filler, for lack of a better word. So I imagine as they got all these movies back, they were like, well, we don't want to open with that guy. Let's move that down. Let's bring this one up. It'll juice this other one. But it's also kind of a bummer when watching, because you have, and we're not spoiler territory, there was one called Libido, which is basically like an underground competition of insanity, it seems, where these rich folks in masks watch gentlemen attempt to pleasure themselves, stimulate themselves with a growing level of unsexually charged things. And then it gets to the level of criminal. In some sections, it was just, oh, this is bad taste and a little messed up and kind of wrong. And then it just gets into criminal territory and gross territory. And if you lose the competition, you die. And this one gentleman is going through round after round after round. He ends up kind of almost at a protest, not doing one, which was a good move because it was pretty horrific. And then in the end, it's him who is being watched by 2 new competitors and murdered while those gentlemen have to figure out if they can, I don't want to say what's happening because it was disturbing. I don't know why I brought up this one. I could have brought up Cycle, which made no sense because why was it called Cycle? It was about clones. Could have called it Clone. Um, there was there was some that the letters were from translations. So I was like, well, I mean, that's an easy one to switch around because the translation could just be completely different words, and you always have a backup when shifting it around. I didn't like ABCs of Death. I'm just gonna let's just come out and say it. Didn't like it. I do enjoy this idea if the people who do it are kind of reined in a little bit. Like, I think VHS kind of does the same thing, but there's not 26 of them. The themes and the styles are not completely all over the joint. And you have less room for the guys that are like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do the funny one by... we're going to do the funny version by being more meta with it. And I was like, yeah, but at this point, it just seems annoying. Because that's what we're doing on the couch while watching this thing, because it's not scaring us. And then there was one that, like, I think it was W for WTF. There was one I was like, this is just an Adult Swim commercial. Maybe, because this came out in, 2012? Maybe those guys did end up going to Adult Swim. Maybe they're like big deals in that type of medium, but watching it was just like this doesn't have anything, no story, no nothing. It's just confusion. It was more entertaining than some of the other ones that did have a story or did have what the director thought was a point, but it still was like, oh, this goes in a horror anthology? I feel like this goes into a YouTube video. Next to tips on how to work Excel and conspiracy theory videos. I understand there's an ABCs of Death 2. I'm wondering if that is a situation where they learned from their mistakes and it got better, or they just cranked it up to 11 because people all were watching it, out of curiosity, and then they were like, oh, sequel time, and really it's the same level of crazy? I don't know. I don't think I'm going to watch it, to be perfectly honest with you. ABCs of Death, I'm sure some people will love it. I am not one of those people. Anyway, have a good one. Peace.